Good morning. It's Monday, December the 14th, and this is The Drill. Thank you. The prayer of the day. Lord Jesus Christ, you are the way, the truth, and the life. Let your light shine in my heart and in my mind, that I may grow in understanding the truth of your word and find joy and freedom in living according to it. Amen. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. Today, don't confuse republicanism with conservatism. Know your enemy. Beware of moderates. Foundation building. The collapse of parenting. Where do we stand? Conservative vocabulary, how to win, quote of the day, and bring back. All that when I come back. Thank you very much. Do not confuse conservatism with republicanism. The former is a world view. The latter is a political theory. You're not conservative based on the way that you vote. You're Republican based on the way that you vote. The first thing that you have to understand is your worldview. Are you realistic or idealistic? Do you make the presumption for the status quo and change only when the need for change is obvious? Or do you presume change? Are you monotheistic or atheistic or polytheistic? Once you've answered those questions, you can know whether or not you are a conservative or non-conservative. By the way, you have to choose. There is no middle ground. There are no moderates, and more importantly, there is no cafeteria. You cannot be a little socialist and a little conservative. You are one or the other. Any valid political philosophical theory must be all-encompassing for obvious reasons. It must prepare you to deal with any situation or contingency, and the only way to do that is to have political ideas that match your world view. Is the world an inherently bad place where failure is to be expected, where nothing can be known with certainty, or is the world a place where we can and do know things and therefore reasonably expect success? You have to know who your enemy is. The left does not go around wearing uniforms, and you identify your enemy by hallmarks. The following are hallmarks of your enemies: socialism, psychologism, subjectivism, pragmatism, activism, materialism, skepticism, and determinism. Psychologism means the use of psychology as one's frame of reference. Subjectivism means rejecting reality and replacing it with opinion and popularity. Pragmatism says that the ends justify the means. Activism is about acting first and thinking later. Materialism is the denial of the reality of concepts and abstractions. Skepticism denies certainty of knowledge, and determinism is the denial of free will. You must also know that there are no moderates. You need to know that socialism and conservatism are contradictory, repugnant, and not contrary, black and white. Contrary means that two political theories have something basic in common. For instance, socialism and libertarianism are contrary and not contradictory because they have the same basic root in common, namely idealism. Both want an ideal society. They just differ in terms of what they consider to be an ideal society. Contradictory means that they have nothing in common. Socialism is idealistic, and conservatism is realistic. Beware of foundation building. The left may make statements or ask questions that you are tempted to agree with because they sound innocuous, but they will be used as the basis for future demands that trap you. For instance, do Black Lives Matter? Yes. Then reparations. Huh? Do Black Lives Matter? Of course. Then single-payer health care. What? Do Black Lives Matter? Certainly. Then socialism. Wait a minute. All of the political mistakes in this country were made by building on a foundation. Title IX, abortion, the pill, are all built on the foundation that men are inherently and irredeemably oppressive. The Endangered Species Act is built on superstition, the denial of the certainty of knowledge. When I come back, who is the true conservative? Thank you. Who is the true conservative? First and foremost, he is God-fearing. Secondly, he is realistic. The true conservative is the man who follows his plan. He is appropriate. He is the person that has the courage of his convictions and is confident in what he knows. He is the person that subordinates politics to reality. He's not selfish, but minds his own business. He acts like an adult. He is patriotic and uses common sense. He is judgmental and moralizes. He refuses to speculate, speaks clearly and definitively, and is not afraid to say no. He's open-minded, asking why, rather than why not. He is consistent, credible, and influential, not ashamed of his existence, unafraid to learn or correct his mistakes. He's a normal American, and he's better than the socialist. He's a better friend, father, brother, family member, and a better person, period. You have to know that being a true conservative is best, or you're wasting your time. Additional examples of what it means to be a true conservative can be heard by listening to John Cobelt and Ken Champeau on the John and Ken Show on KFI AM 640 Monday through Friday from 2 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. My podcast is short, approximately 5 to 20 minutes long, because shorter podcasts are easier to download and listen to. The biggest socio-political influences in my life are Jesus Christ, my parents, my teachers, Hugh Hewitt, Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, Ayn Rand, and Dr. Mortimer Adler. The podcast, or my podcast, is made available through Spreaker and can be heard on iTunes, Spotify, Google, YouTube, and CastBox, among others. I can be reached at thedrill12, all one word, at gmail.com. So now I'm going to pick up where I left off on reading about the collapse, a book called The Collapse of Parenting that I got on Amazon. So go to Amazon Kindle or regular Amazon and look up The Collapse of Parenting. It's a great read. It is an important read for every conservative in this country. It's tough to be a parent in a culture that constantly undermines parental authority. 2 generations ago, American parents and teachers had much greater authority. In that area, American parents and teachers taught right and wrong in no uncertain terms. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Love your neighbor as yourself. Those were commands, not suggestions. Today, most American parents and teachers no longer act with such authority. They do not command. Instead, they ask, how would you feel if someone did that to you? The command has been replaced by a question. American parents and teachers struggle to respond when the student replies, quote, if someone did that to me, I'd kick him in the nuts, unquote. Even when students produce the canned answer they know the grown-ups want to hear, they're merely regurgitating. They have digested nothing. No real communication across the generations. The most important feature of inculturation has occurred. What does it mean to assert your authority as a parent? It doesn't necessarily mean being a tough disciplinarian. Among other things, it means ensuring that the parent-child relationship takes priority over the relationships between the child and his or her same-age peers. Not just for toddlers, but for teenagers as well. It means that parents are doing their job, fulfilling their biological role, if you like, of teaching the child how to behave both within and outside of the family unit. Recall that the purpose of a prolonged childhood in our species seems to be, first and foremost, for the child to learn the grown-up culture from the grown-ups. When parents lose their authority, when same-age peers matter more than parents, then kids are no longer interested in learning the culture of their parents. They want to learn the kiddie culture, the teen culture. Throughout this book, we will see just how harmful that is. The benefits of parental authority are substantial. When parents matter more than peers, they can teach right and wrong in a meaningful way. They can prioritize attachments within the family over attachments with same-age peers. They can foster better relationships between their child and other adults. They can help their child develop a more robust and more authentic sense of self, grounded not in how many likes a photo gets on Instagram or Facebook, but in the child's truest nature. They can educate desire, instilling a longing for higher and better things in music, in the arts, and in one's own character. And that was an excerpt from The Collapse of Parenting, vital for reasons that I believe and know to be obvious. So, where do we stand? Well, let's see. The Supreme Court refused to hear Texas's lawsuit against 4 states, saying that Texas had no standing to sue the other states. This was wrong, and the reason it was wrong is because the Supreme Court makes the presumption for the wrong status quo. They get confused as to what is truly the status quo. The Supreme Court should be using the Constitution as the status quo, because it is, on its face. Instead, the Supreme Court decides that whatever case you bring to them, then, for instance, in this case, that Texas can sue and should sue the other states because they are disenfranchising Texas voters. Well, they take to be the status quo the fact that the states are not disenfranchising. And so the burden of proof is now on the plaintiff to prove that something is not occurring. In other words, you end up having to prove a negative. And a better way to explain it is most of the time it's about a law. The government passes a law and then they're sued for being unconstitutional. Well, the Supreme Court presumes that the law is constitutional and the plaintiff has to prove that it isn't. That's proving a negative, it's wrong, and it has to go. What the Supreme Court should do instead is presume for the Constitution and presume that any law, a supplementary law, is unconstitutional until proven otherwise. Because you can prove a positive. That was kind of a tortured explanation, and I'll have to work on doing better on it. But suffice it to say, the Supreme Court was wrong, and wrong for demonstrable reasons, not as a matter of opinion, not just because I'm a conservative or a Trump supporter, but because they are wrong as a matter of fact of reality. So President Trump has a new lawsuit against the state of Georgia, so the fight goes on. And by the way, I had said before that the race is over when the law says it is. The race is over, as far as I'm concerned, when President Trump says it is. We, Republicans, have a 6-3 majority on the Supreme Court. Republicans have 213 seats in the House of Representatives, with Mike Garcia being the latest Republican to win his race. The Senate is currently 50-48 in favor of the Republicans, with 2 races outstanding. The other thing I want to say about the Georgia race is everybody in Georgia should get out and vote. If for no other reason, aren't you sick and tired of elections? I mean, it never ends. It's November 3rd, and now we have the presidential election, all the other elections, and it is now the 14th of December, and the presidential election is still not decided, and the Senate campaign is still not decided. And what I really fear more than having 2 Senate or Democrats in the Senate, 2 more Democrats, is the fact that we may get to the point where it's a tie again on January 5th. There is some type of a tie, or it's within a margin of error or something, and that we have to go through another recount, and it goes on and on. Maybe in February we'll still be trying to resolve this. So every person that is in Georgia that's eligible to vote, get out and vote and get this over with. One way or another, get it done. If you're not sick of it, I am. Republicans have 27 governorships, the Democrats 23. Republicans control 55 of 99 state legislative chambers. And that's about it for that. So let's see. There's more to being a conservative than how you vote. If you want to be a true conservative, you have to act, think, and talk like a true conservative, hence conservative vocabulary. And you talk like a true conservative because there's a saying in program, if you hang out at a barbershop long enough, sooner or later you're going to get a haircut. So if you act, talk, and think and dress like a socialist, sooner or later you're going to vote like a socialist. Conservative vocabulary, no. One of the best words in conservative vocabulary, no. 3 ways to say no. Either you say no with conditions. No, I'm not going to do that, but I'll tell you what I will do. Or you say yes with, and then no, then negotiate, or yes with conditions. Sure, I'll do that, but first, you want to have reparations? Fine, we'll trade you. You give us, we'll give you reparations in return for which you give us, you agree to make abortion illegal throughout the United States. You agree to take out every Planned Parenthood clinic in this country. Another conservative word vocabulary is go back. No politician wants to say we should go back. But that's frequently, politically speaking, what we should do, exactly what we should do. Let's go back to pre-HMO health care. Okay, we didn't need HMOs, it was not necessary, and they failed. Time to go back to the way things were before HMO. Instead of trying to use failure as a foundation and creating ever more rickety structures, let's go back to the tried and true. And then if the geniuses, the wizards of smart, want to come up with a new idea, we'll evaluate it at that time. Acceptance. Mind your own business. From now on, right, wrong, should, good, bad, evil, reality, especially evil. The left really doesn't want us to talk about evil because that has to do with the devil, and they don't want us to talk about the devil. Anyways, reality, certainty, morality, beauty, and polity. And these are terms that are conservative because they express bias. The left wants you to communicate in neutral terms because it's much easier for them to sweep aside people that are looking at things neutrally. They can say, well, wait a minute, you're not looking at both sides of the argument. That's right, I'm not because I'm not neutral. Duh. How to win. I usually provide a psycho-intellectual method of achieving victory, but I recently had an epiphany and realized that there's an excellent and more tangible way to achieve full potency. Join the Republican Party. I'm not now a member of the party, and I was going to join this. Friday, I said this too, and I still haven't joined the party, so I really need to do this today. I'm a registered independent. I'm wrong for being so. Being a registered independent is the political equivalent of being neutral. In other words, a political zero. So I will today, immediately following this podcast, become a card-carrying member of the Republican Party. We conservatives complain, rightly, about the Republican Party, about rhinos, etc. We cannot shape the party from the outside. Therefore, I encourage all true conservatives to join the Republican Party with the aim of dominating and controlling the party. Why should we dominate in the party? Because we are the only people across the political spectrum that answer to and are led by truth, righteousness, accuracy, and reality. So, to sum up, if you want to win, be a Republican. Quote of the day, quote, to anger a conservative, lie to him. To anger a liberal, tell him the truth, unquote. Teddy Roosevelt. As conservatives, we make the presumption for the status quo and change only when there's an obvious or prima facie case for change. So the following terms should be brought back into civilized conversation. Bring back the devil. That's correct. The devil. When I was growing up, that we talked about the devil. It was part of our religious upbringings, our family discussions. Why is there evil in the world? It's simple. It's really, really simple. The devil. Okay? And nothing makes sense in this world. Nothing makes sense from the standpoint of Christianity without including the devil. When you go out, when you're praying to God and you're praying for forgiveness and whatnot, and you got to remember the best phrase in any of the prayers is, deliver us from evil, for thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen. Deliver us from evil. What does that mean? Who is the perpetrator of evil? The devil. Okay, otherwise what you're doing is you're putting yourself in a position where it's you against God. Okay, so what you're going to pray to God and say, the devil has influenced me in evil ways, of course, because that's what the devil does. Dear Lord, please deliver me for that. Please forgive me those sins. I was weak. I went ahead and listened to the devil when I shouldn't have. Please forgive me for that. But it's the devil versus God, not me versus God. But again, with acknowledgement of the devil, everything in the world begins to make sense. Normality. Let's bring back normal. Sanity, privacy, property rights. The pre-1970 filibuster. Again, up till 1970, the filibuster made sense. Because the filibuster, if you wanted to filibuster a bill in the Senate, you had to be on the floor of the Senate and stay on the floor during your entire filibuster, number one. Number two is when you filibustered something, no other Senate business got done. Everything came to a grinding halt. And because of those two things, there was enormous pressure to resolve this filibuster. Most of the time, what would end up happening if you filibustered a bill is that whoever's filibustering wouldn't win. Okay, they end up losing and losing the battle. But the point is, they got to have their say. They got to get it all out, leave it all on the field, so to speak. And so that's the filibuster made sense. Now we have a situation where nobody has to be on the floor. They just tell the majority leader comes by and asks, how are you going to vote or whatever, and they just tell him, well, guess what? I'm going to filibuster. And then they can filibuster without even going on the floor. And other Senate business goes on in the meantime. So the filibuster, in effect, kills the bill. And that shouldn't happen. Bring back outlawry, especially for terrorists and revolutionaries. Single-income households, integration, parenting, and along with it, corporal punishment. The primacy of existence, certainty of knowledge, universal rights and wrongs. Bring back principled behavior, masculinity and femininity. Adam 12, John F. Kennedy, the gold standard. Pre-HMO medical care, nonprofit news. Civil service, the term stupid question. Arguments and fights. The cultural influence of the church and the Boy Scouts. Bring back the Lions Club and the Rotary Club. Bring back bowling. Bring back linear thinking, and bring back SMART. Back in a minute. Thank you. Be of good cheer. The universe is benevolent. Success is to be expected. And therefore, the left has no authority, no power, and they cannot win. Think about it. On the next episode, basic philosophical principles. And that concludes another episode of The Drill. Be honest, be smart, be beautiful, and always ask yourself, what is real? How do I know? And what should I do about it? I'm Ron, and that's The Drill.